Public, private, or charter? What type of school are local parents opting for this coming year? Oil and gas drives the Permian Basin. How are things looking right now in the middle of a pandemic? President Trump said things will likely get worse before they get better. What's the status of the country faring with COVID-19? News West 9 at 6 starts right now. Good evening to you. The start of a new school year will be here before you know it. For many students, this will be their first time headed back to an actual classroom in 5 months. Though for others, they will likely start the school year at their kitchen table. So how to approach this fall has been a hot topic. You know, what's the right choice for school districts and parents alike? Sammy Steele found that for a lot of parents in West Texas, charter schools have become a popular option.
Tatum, here at Premier High School and Classical, enrollment is up 25%. In fact, the charter school has actually grown out of this building and they're having to expand into a building down the road. Now, there's a few reasons for that. Part of the reason is because of smaller class size, and students can have more one-on-one time with their teachers. With virtual learning becoming the norm in education, more and more students are enrolling into responsive education charter schools.
Yeah, we've seen an uptake partially because of the way our curriculum is designed. The way that it's done is we can kind of go back and forth between being in class and online with our self-paced curriculum. Also with having a smaller amount of students, we can do more of the one-to-one thing.
Each student gets the technology they need to do virtual learning.
Every single student has their own Chromebook. We've also have areas where we can provide hotspots to those families. So if they let us know they don't, the district will actually issue them a hotspot that they can use as much as they like to accomplish their schoolwork.
Another big draw to charter schools, they're affordable because they're publicly funded and privately run.
That's always kind of the thing that we get. When I do bring parents in for orientation, that's always the hand goes up, what's the cost? And it's like, it's 100% free. Curriculum, Chromebooks, we don't charge you anything to come in for any of that. So that's always a big benefit.
But just because the school is smaller, with around 150 students in the high school and 350 K through 8, teachers have been training all summer on how to teach in the classroom and from home.
When COVID started, you know, the best way we were building the airplane as it was flying. You know, now we're sitting here and we're putting it together and we're putting a plan together the best we can to be prepared for the response, you know, of what's coming our way. And so I have my staff coming up next week and we're going to be working on how do we handle these situations. Let's talk about common situations we ran into in the spring and try to identify those so we're a little bit better prepared.
Now, as far as differences between public schools and charter schools when it comes to COVID-19, well, there's not really too many differences. They both follow the same TEA guidelines, but this charter school tells me they try to mirror ECISD and MISD school calendar, which means the first day of school here, like ECISD, will be August 19th. Reporting in Midland, I'm Sammy Steele. Back to you.
Sammy, thank you. We're also getting a better idea of how this semester will play out in Ector County. Bottom line, the district is giving you a choice. Students will have the option to attend class on campus, but going to a campus every day is not possible for all students. Here's what Superintendent Dr. Scott Murray presented to the school board. He said that pre-K through junior high students will have the option of all face-to-face learning, virtual classes, or a hybrid model, meaning both virtual and in person. High school students, though, will have a choice of all virtual classes or a hybrid. Dr. Murray says that there will not be a full week of in-person classes for high school students because of the amount of students and lack of space. You know, it's just not possible, he says. If you do decide that your student would rather a different option for learning, you will be able to change that after a grading period is over. Now, for students who attend class on campus, what's that going to look like? For most, a mask will be required. Pre-K through third grade students are not required to wear a mask in class, though if they are moving throughout the building, a mask will be required. Fourth grade and up are required to wear a mask at all times, except for when they are eating or doing outdoor activities. All students must wear a mask while they are riding the bus. Tonight, the school district is hosting a Facebook Live. I know you all have so many questions. You've asked them to us on Facebook. The school district will actually be hosting a Facebook Live on their Facebook page. It starts at 7, so you've got about an hour. You can flip over to that after you're finished watching News West 9 at 6. Now, as we do prepare to send our kids back to school, it's important now more than ever to keep an eye on the COVID-19 case count, because that's going to determine what the school year is going to look like. Here's where we stand this evening. Ector County saw a 256 case jump in cases since Monday. There are currently 1,142 active cases. You see that reflected here in the blue line, but again, look at the orange line. There are more recovered cases than currently active right now. That's good news. Over 2,600 confirmed cases. 1,342 people have recovered so far in Ector County. Here's a look at Midland's numbers. They reported 52 new cases today. That raises the total confirmed cases to 1,656. Recoveries, those are on the rise. Check this out. The orange line, it is growing slightly. You can see that's compared from previous days. That number is at 669. That still leaves, though, over 900 active cases over in Midland County. Now, the pandemic, it has put hospitals in an interesting position. They've seen the number of people going to the ER drop dramatically. People avoiding the ER because of, obvious concerns. We're in a pandemic. Today, health leaders with Odessa hospitals have a message to people. The ER is safe if you are in an emergency. Don't put off going.
We have processes and procedures in place in order to eliminate your exposure to other individuals. And we've said it in the past at these pressers. I know Russell has, that really, even inside your hospital, sometimes that's the safest place because we have all of the mechanisms in place to protect you.
Yeah, and I would definitely echo that, and I'd go a step farther to tell you that going to the grocery store, going to the gas station, going to Walmart is going to be more unsafe for you than coming to our ER.
Yeah, did you hear that? It's safer to go to the ER than it is to Walmart. That's straight from a doctor. They say that if you do have an emergency, again, do not hesitate going to the hospital for medical attention if you need it. Anthony, we've had some rain moving in and around the area. We had a viewer just tell us they're hearing thunder over in Midland. No rain yet. What's the radar look like right now?
Right, we had quite a bit of thunder and lightning kind of northwest Midland not too long ago. Let's go ahead and take a look at that radar picture, and we do see a few areas of concern. We'll zoom into them right here. Southern Andrews County, also kind of northwest Ector County near Goldsmith, seeing a few of those showers and storms. The good thing is with these, no severe weather is expected, but as you can see, lightning and gusty winds are possible. For Midland and Odessa right now, a little shower on the north side of Midland, also a shower on the west side of Odessa, and lightning near the Gardendale area, and also seeing a few of those showers and storms near Garden City towards Big Spring. So I'll have another update on this. Also talk about the tropics coming up in my full forecast. Tatum.
Anthony, thank you. A good day for oil and gas. Crude oil closed today just above $40 a barrel. A local economist says that while it has been a wild few months for our area, it's only up from here. Here's what he told Tate Owen.
Tatum, although the economy isn't where it was when we started 2020, a local financial analyst says that things have stopped getting worse, and that's the first step to recovery.
What goes up must come down, a cycle West Texans are all too familiar with. Though today, it appears the worst of the most recent downturn is behind us.
Well, oil prices have bounced back. They've almost doubled, back up to around $40, and seem relatively stable at that price.
While that's an encouraging sign, Mickey Cargile says we aren't entirely out of the woods yet.
Now, there's still going to be more layoffs that are just part of the overall process of a bust, but it's not as bad as it was a couple of months ago.
Where does the economy go from here? Cargile says that's up to us as consumers.
Start using more gasoline, we'll start using jet fuel. As we become more active and get out of this shut-in phase, then we're going to see the price of oil increase because of increased demand.
As our region enters the next phase of recovery, Cargile says we're in a better position than in recent downturns. People are still spending money. He says that the housing market has played a role in propping up our economic standing. Interest rates are low, driving more people to buy a home.
We have a higher point to launch. And I do believe that we have a stronger core economy in our area now than we've ever had in the past.
That's a sign of a quick recovery. In Midland, Tate Owen, News West 9.
Tate, thank you. Cargill expects oil prices to have fully recovered by the end of the year. Now, with that being said, Midland County, they are working to get ready to work with less money. Leaders are in the process of finalizing its budget, and no surprise here, there's expected to be cuts across the board because of revenue shortages caused by the coronavirus. Some elected officials, though, are still calling for an 8% raise for employees and themselves. Dana Morris joins us now with more.
Yeah, that's right. Midland County is looking at somewhere between a 20 to 30% reduction in sales tax revenue this fiscal year. But these raises would match what Midland County employees outside of elected officials received last year and would cost around $185,000 in a budget that's likely to surpass $180 million. But still, some elected officials, including the county judge, say it's just not the right time.
It flies in the face of any taxpayer that has lost his job, had his wages reduced, had his hours reduced. Businesses have closed that probably aren't going to open again. Businesses are open wondering how long can they stay on. It flies in the face of those folks to be given 8% raises right now in the county.
Now, for a little more further perspective, the county judge has asked every department within Midland County to reduce its operating budget by 15%. We'll have more on that request tonight at 10.
Dana, thank you. I know that's raising a lot of eyebrows. Again, nothing is set in stone. Budget talks will continue during next Monday's commissioners meeting. Anthony, looking at weather, we just saw the radar a moment ago. What's coming? Any rain? Will we see rain?
Yeah, rain chances are looking pretty slim for Midland and Odessa as of now, but there's some dusty conditions out there, also some windy conditions, not what we really want to see, but I will have another look at that radar picture, tell you where it's raining and where it's going, coming up right after the break.
We've had storm clouds around the area just giving us a tease all afternoon.
Right, and here's an awesome viewer picture that we got sent in. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. We always love when you send us pictures. You can text us at 567-9991. And this one's coming in from Misty out of Hobbs, New Mexico. Check out this picture right there. A very low storm clouds and quite a bit of rainfall there in northern Lee County. This is looking north, and thank you for sending that picture in. But here's our live radar picture. Continue to see some of these scattered storms starting to wind down a little bit, especially there in Big Spring. We had a lot of lightning. It's starting to wind down now in Big Spring, but still seeing some scattered thunderstorms in southern Andrews County, kind of northwest Ector County, close to Goldsmith to Gardendale. Seeing the bulk of the activity right now. A few lightning strikes, maybe around West Odessa as well, and some rain there on the western side of the city. Midland, we are dry and will likely continue to stay dry. Can't completely rule out some more storms kind of developing over the next hour or so, but Midland, I think we could be done for the activity for now. Look at Odessa right now, also seeing very gusty winds and some dusty conditions out there. This is our Odessa sky cam, and you see all of that dust along the horizon. Make sure you just stay inside at this point. Weather's pretty gross out there with all that wind and dust blowing around West Texas as it usually does. Here's a look at tomorrow's forecast, and another day pretty similar to how today has played out. Sunny in the morning at 74, partly sunny by the time we get to noon at 88 degrees, and then 94 by the time we get to around 5 o'clock. And we do introduce that just 10% chance of an isolated shower or storm. Today it was about 20 to 30%, so we're going down to 10 to 20% across the Permian Basin tomorrow. So coverage is going to be a little bit less than what we've seen today, but there still is a chance of some more afternoon or evening thunderstorms. Going to be very isolated tomorrow afternoon. Also watching the tropics, this tropical disturbance northwest of Cuba now in the eastern Gulf of Mexico has an 80% chance of becoming a tropical depression and could make its way towards the Texas coast as we go into Friday in kind of the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. By Saturday and Sunday, making landfall possibly as a tropical depression or even tropical storm Hannah would be the next name that we give this one. Rainfall from Corpus Christi to San Antonio, but unfortunately it could stay to the south there. Our latest weather model model showing that storm staying south of Midland and Odessa, south of the Permian Basin. There still is a chance that we could see some moisture from this, but I think the majority of it is going to stay to our south. You see that here, one of our computer models showing quite a bit of rain from Houston over to San Antonio to Del Rio, but this one actually showing a little bit more in Midland and San Angelo area, so there still is a decent chance that we could see something out of this, but I think the majority of it is going to stay off to the south. Here's tomorrow's high temperatures. 93 in Big Spring, 94 in Andrews, also there in Midland and Odessa, 95 in Fort Stockton tomorrow. Near 100, we'll go 99 for you guys in Pecos. Another hot day and a chance of some isolated little showers and storms by the time we get to tomorrow afternoon. 9-day forecast, those temps stay in the mid-90s through Friday and Saturday. And then those better rain chances, 20, maybe up to 30% as we go Sunday, Monday, and into Tuesday. And those temperatures, they go down a bit too, with highs only in the low 90s. Tatum.
Anthony, thanks to Lacom, a new family's moved into a Midland neighborhood. Not what you think. We are all having to wear the masks. They are part of our new normal, and some of them are pretty creative, so show us. Little Theo, we've got Theo. Look at him, he's in his little mask. We love that dog. Here's the whole family, Ramon, Vanessa, Maddox, and Mason. Cute little tiger face shield. Look at that. Oh, we'd love to see that. And assistant baseball coach Mark Varela over at Permian, sporting a mask too. Send us a photo of you wearing your mask, and you just might see yourself featured in one of our newscasts or even on the website. All you have to do is text us 567-9991. A new family has moved into a Midland neighborhood, but it's not your typical family. A mama bobcat and her 3 cubs have been spotted in the Grasslands area. Take a close look at that photo. We spoke to Midland County Game Warden Derek Bean. He says bobcats are not uncommon for this part of Texas. They're largely foraging for rodents or something to eat. If you see this bobcat family roaming around, don't worry. Don't try to interact with them, pet them, or feed them. Just stay away, keep your distance. Let them go about their business. Here's an opportunity to support a local nonprofit if you can do it this weekend. Fix West Texas will be at the Midland Farmers Market this Saturday from 8 to 11. They'll have a booth set up selling t-shirts and dog bandanas. Then on August 6th and 7th, they'll have their spay and neuter clinic for dogs and cats at the Odessa Police Department. This is free and open to the public. For prices and to make an appointment, go to their website, fixwesttexas.org. You can also see what other events they have coming up. Tesla is coming to Austin. Did you hear about this? Electric automaker says that they will build their largest auto assembly plant in Southeast Austin. And they're going to hire 5,000 people. That's about a $1 billion investment. The company will get more than $60 million in tax breaks from the county and the Del Valley School District. Tesla hopes to break ground by the 3rd quarter of this year. Coming up in sports, find out what changes TAPS is already considering ahead of the fall season.
While TAPS released their fall sports plan earlier this month, they're already thinking about adjustments, and that's a process we should probably get used to.
It looks promising that instead of a scrimmage and 6 ball games, we're going to bypass the scrimmage for a 7th ball game, and we'll play our entire district schedule. 7 games and then playoffs is what it looks like it's going to be, but that hasn't been handed down officially yet. As coaches, we've got to prepare our team with a sense of urgency to be prepared, game ready earlier. That's just it. You know, we've got to be a little bit more nitpicky. We're probably going to have a little more film study and look at the things we're not doing well, so that hopefully it doesn't take a scrimmage to expose that. Hopefully it doesn't get exposed and cost us a game. You know, it'll be a little more pressure on the coaching staff, and certainly us being a little more intense and purposeful about being game ready.
While TAPS thinks about making adjustments, the Odessa Jackalopes have made some additions. The NAHL draft was last night, and the Jacks made 9 picks, including the 2nd overall pick, defenseman Evan Orr, a Division I hockey commit at Michigan's Tech. Most recently, Orb played for the Prince George Spruce Kings in the British Columbia Hockey League. In addition to him, Odessa drafted 1 more defenseman and then 7 forwards in 5 rounds to close out the draft. Those weren't the only additions the Jacks made. They also have a new assistant and goaltenders coach in Nate Skidmore. Skidmore played 4 years of Junior A hockey before moving on to play at the State University of New York at Potsdam College for another 4 years with the Bears. Skid was named team MVP during his senior season. Also, he specializes in recruiting, video analysis, player skill development, and strategic team planning. And odds are our youthful coaching staff will connect better with a, obviously, young squad. Back to you.
Eliab, thank you. Good to see you. Houston remains one of the nation's hotspots for COVID-19, and sometimes the numbers are just so overwhelming, we overlook the individual tragedies behind that death count.
I didn't get to say goodbye to my mom or my dad now, and that's what hurts me the most right now.
And as school districts across the country try to figure out the safest way to reopen in the midst of a global pandemic, children in one district returned to the classroom today. Coronavirus has now claimed nearly 142,000 lives in the United States. Sometimes the numbers are so overwhelming that we overlook the individual tragedies behind the death count. Houston remains one of the nation's hot spots for the virus. Jessica Wiley introduces us to 2 boys there who have been made orphans by the pandemic.
I don't like it at all. It's tragic.
When 14-year-old Isaiah Garcia stood over his mother at her funeral earlier this month, he thought it was the hardest thing he would do. 2 weeks later, his father died too.
I didn't get to say goodbye to my mom or my dad now, and that's what hurts me the most right now.
39-year-old Naomi Esquivel died on July 2nd. Her mother says from COVID-19. Carlos Garcia, her husband of 24 years, attended her funeral with their sons. He was recovering from the virus when he was hospitalized for kidney failure. On July 17th, he was found unresponsive. Like Naomi, who was hospitalized only a day, the end went fast.
He had just spoke to his son at 11 o'clock. They pronounced him dead at 12:24.
Both parents were alone when they died. The reality of COVID-19, which weighs on Naomi's mother.
Dying now is more tragic than it was before because you die alone. You die alone without your family members.
Naomi's younger brother, a father of 4 himself, will now raise his nephews.
I love them with all my heart, and I know that this is what their parents would have wanted, was for me to take them in.
It's a great responsibility the boys appreciate.
At least since he passed, at least we got to be with our family. We didn't have to go to an orphanage or anything, because I'd rather be here than anywhere else right now.
As the entire family tries to process unimaginable loss.
We have no words to describe it. No words. I mean, we're Christian people and we accept the will of God. And we know that if this was His will, that He's going to guide us through it.
Our hearts just break for them. Moving on, doctors at St. David's Medical Center in South Austin are testing out a possible new way to fight off COVID-19. Patients there will be studied after being treated with marimapidine, an antiviral drug. Doctors say that it could be used alongside other COVID-19 treatments.
It's very needed. I think, we're still struggling to find effective therapies that I think truly, impact the outcomes of this illness. This is how we make these important discoveries that go towards better treatments.
The doctor that you just heard from there says that there are close to 10 patients enrolled so far. Other treatments doctors are using, they are using plasma from recovered patients, steroids, and another antiviral drug called remdesivir. Meanwhile, a new study suggests that steroids other than dexamethasone may be effective in treating some COVID-19 patients, and a blood test may be able to determine which patients should receive it. Researchers studied over 1,800 hospitalized patients. Among those, 140 were treated with steroids, mainly prednisone. Nearly all of the patients in that study had a blood test to measure levels of a protein in the liver that it produces in response to inflammation. They found that those with high levels of inflammation, steroid use was associated with a 75% lowered risk of being placed on a ventilator or dying. But that risk increased nearly 200% if they were given the steroid and had a normal or low level of inflammation. The U.S. has inked a deal with Pfizer for delivery of millions of doses of its coronavirus vaccine candidate. Pfizer and Germany-based BioNTech will receive nearly $2 billion for the first 100 million doses of their vaccine, if it proves to be safe and effective. Under this agreement, the U.S. can acquire 500 million additional doses. The two companies are jointly developing 4 potential vaccines. Secretary Azar says the vaccine will be made available to Americans at, quote, no cost. As school districts across the country try to figure out the safest way to reopen in the midst of a global pandemic, children in one district returned to the classroom today. It comes as COVID-19 infections and deaths continue to grow, especially in the South and West. The U.S. is now closing in on 4 million known cases. The CDC says the real number of infections is likely much higher. Chris Pallone reports.
In Alcoa, Tennessee, a first day of school unlike any other. Besides reading, writing, and arithmetic, there are temperature checks and lessons in staying safe from COVID-19.
They're teaching them how to spread out away from each other and social distance.
Are you ready to go inside?
Students are attending in-person classes just 1 day a week.
We felt like if we staggered them and only brought a few back at a time, we could safely follow most all CDC guidelines.
It's just one approach to education in a nation struggling to contain the coronavirus. The U.S. seeing 1,000 COVID-19 deaths in a single day for the 3rd time this month. In Florida, one of the world's biggest virus hotspots, a teachers union is suing to overturn what they say is a mandatory back-to-school order from the state.
In 2 weeks, our kids are supposed to go back in our first school districts. We are simply not ready. There will be people who will die from this coronavirus. They're dying every day here in the state of Florida. We're the epicenter of the world.
Out west, California has passed New York for the nation's highest number of infections. Los Angeles is on the brink of another shutdown. The nation's top infectious disease expert warns states' attempts to return to normal quickly could have the opposite effect.
We've got to do much better in controlling the outbreak in general, but also particularly as we try to reopen.
More than 143,000 dead so far, with thousands more getting infected every day. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
We'll keep an eye on that. Something else we're keeping an eye on, the weather. Anthony, how's it looking outside now?
Yeah, we just got a couple little isolated storms out there that we are tracking. I think Midland and Odessa will probably stay dry for the rest of this evening, but I'm talking about our forecast for the rest of the work week coming up right after the break.
There have been storms around the area, though, Anthony. It seems like it's kicking up more dust than it is actually raining.
Yeah, folks in Odessa right now dealing with some dust. They didn't really get any rain, so they got kind of the short straw once again. Let's go ahead and take a look at our Skycam over Odessa, and you can see that dust that's being kicked up. Tatum just said gross, and that is exactly what we're seeing out there in Odessa right now. So maybe just stay inside. Visibility should improve over the next couple of hours as we get closer to sunset. As these storms kind of get further away from the Midland Odessa area, visibility should improve there. Live radar picture, we're going to zoom into a few locations here, seeing quite a bit of lightning around No Trees area between Kermit and the Goldsmith region. Towards Penwell, seeing a few lightning strikes as well. West Odessa, some rainfall for you, but Odessa and over into Midland right now, we're pretty dry, and we are expecting to stay dry as we go on later on this evening. This activity is moving off to the west, and we look like we are going to stay dry across the area as we go later on today. Here's a look at our live radar around south of Garden City, north of the Rankin area. We are seeing some thunderstorms here northwest of Big Lake, and could pack a punch there with wind gusts up to 40-45 miles an hour and quite a bit of lightning. Here's a picture from earlier on this evening. Andrew sent this on from the Big Spring area. Thank you so much for sending that one. And you can kind of tell that we're seeing very spotty showers and storms just on this picture. Separate little thunderstorms, separate little areas of rain just in that picture, and that's kind of what we've seen all day today, all day yesterday, and we could see more of that as we go into tomorrow afternoon and evening. About 74 degrees tomorrow at 7, 88 by 12, and mid-90s once again by 5. Just that 10% rain chance for Midland and Odessa. Today we're about 20 to 30%. In the Permian Basin, tomorrow we're looking to be about 10 to 20%. The better chance tomorrow afternoon and evening in the northern Permian Basin towards Hobbs, Seminole, Andrews, and Lamesa and Big Spring. Midland and Odessa, just about that 10% chance. But let's talk about the tropics once again. We are still watching this little low pressure system, an 80% chance it develops into a potentially named storm as we go over the next couple of days there. It's going to continue as we go into the central Gulf of Mexico by Friday, and as we continue finally into Sunday, it kind of makes landfall in South Texas, San Antonio, Corpus Christi over to Brownsville have the best chance of rain. Unfortunately, our latest weather models are showing this kind of south of Midland and Odessa, south of West Texas. There still is a chance that we could see some rain from this. These kind of tracks of these tropical systems tend to really fluctuate up and down. So we'll keep you updated on that. Here's what we know right now. We're looking at rain chances Sunday through Tuesday. Right now, only about 20% chances. That could go up, so make sure to stick with us based on that track of that low pressure system. Highest chances will stay right now. We're looking south and east, and even if we don't see rain from this, we're looking at more cloud cover and slightly cooler temperatures as that tropical moisture makes its way in. Here's our 9-day forecast again. Tomorrow about 94 degrees. Friday and Saturday mid-90s continue, and then as we go into the weekend again, more cloud cover and that chance of a few showers and thunderstorms. 20% chances Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday as temperatures drop into the low 90s. So hey, cross the fingers. Hopefully we can get some rain out of that little tropical system. Tatum.
Anthony, thanks. Being essential is an unnerving balancing act, leaving some parents trying to figure out virtual learning and also keep their job. And veterinary clinics are seeing more patients, but it's not because people are bringing home quarantine buddies. Parents are back to the balancing act, trying to figure out virtual learning and what to do with their kids at home for another 2 months minimum for some districts. One Texas mom told Marie Savadera that she's beyond frustrated with the school districts in Fort Worth.
Being essential is an unnerving balancing act, says Fort Worth's Aubrey Mullen.
It's a sacrifice that we as nurses have always known that we were capable of giving, but at the same time, it's really scary to actually have to offer yourself in this type of capacity.
She's the breadwinner, working in pediatric care, helping provide for her son, Britton. For that reason, her decision for the fall was made for her.
Absolutely. Day one, he's got to go to school. We have no other option.
That changed for her and many others Tuesday when Tarrant County health officials signed an order saying its schools would be online only through at least September 28th. Some of its districts going even further, with Crowley ISD tweeting it won't have in-person class until October 5th. We heard more reaction at Tuesday's Fort Worth ISD board meeting.
We cannot guarantee the safety or livelihoods of the teachers or students if schools are reopened at Fort Worth ISD.
Most appreciated the delay. Other parents asked what this means for their student.
What can be done for our special education students?
Fort Worth superintendent says exceptions in the county's order give flexibility in bringing special needs students back. Still, families like the Mullins are negotiating between their children and their paychecks.
We are considering, do we want to hire a high schooler to be in charge of not only his daily care, but part of his education?
She hopes her son's district and her workplace are flexible for essential families with impossible choices.
Just listening to the people who are really working in the trenches, I think, would be beneficial.
In Fort Worth, I'm Marie Saavedra.
The city of Austin certainly raised a few eyebrows when they announced that they would be issuing a $2,000 fine to anyone not wearing a face mask. But get this, it may be working because not a single ticket has been handed out for a mask violation in Austin so far. The health authorities' mask order stays in effect through November 12th. Veterinary clinics are seeing more business these days, but it's not just because people are deciding to welcome new pets into their homes during the pandemic. Reporter Holly Stouffer explains.
I have 2 minutes now to do this basically because still got patients I got to take care of.
The owner of Texas Veterinary Hospitals doesn't have much time to spare. Dr. Michael Mixon is seeing 20% more pets than usual.
Yeah, no, we did not expect to be as consistent and as busy as we have been.
Yes, ma'am. Since the start of the pandemic, he says many clients are coming in with newly adopted pets. But that's not the majority.
Our sick cases have gone up dramatically.
With people stuck at home, Mixon says they're able to watch their pets more closely and can easily see when something is wrong.
And so they can see their dog scratching at their ears or their skin or they're vomiting and diarrhea, whatever it may be.
Mixon says sometimes noticing what your pet isn't doing, like eating or playing as much, is just as important.
Subtle things that they're not doing that are signs that things are starting to change on the inside, whether it be arthritis or kidney disease, things like that.
People are staying home for different reasons. Unknowingly, keeping their pets safe too.
So they're aware of what's going on now.
Tensions escalated once again in Portland as hundreds of demonstrators clashed with federal agents. Now President Trump is doubling down on his plan to end the violence. Another body of a Fort Hood soldier has been found near a Texas Army base, marking the third time in a month that a Fort Hood soldier's body has been discovered. Army officials say the body of Private Mejor Morto was found near Stillhouse Hollow Lake on July 17th. Stillhouse Hollow Lake is a reservoir managed by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Officials have not said whether the 26-year-old's death is considered suspicious, but a preliminary autopsy report shows a 26-year-old drowned. Last month, officials discovered skeletal remains of soldier Gregory Morales. U.S. Army officials say they do suspect foul play in his death. And on July 1st, U.S. Army officials found more human remains, those of Vanessa Guillen. There is no indication that any of those deaths are related. A dramatic rescue in San Antonio. Take a look at this. You can see emergency crews pulling a man from a deep trench. Officials say that he was doing construction work and fell in, oh my gosh, getting stuck in dirt up to his waist. The victim told an investigator that he leaned over to measure the depth of the hole, and that's when the ground gave out from under him. So firefighters lowered themselves into the trench, dug around the man, careful not to dig too much and cause any of that dirt to collapse even more. They strapped him to a structure and then lifted him out with a crane. Talk about a complex rescue. This took more than 2.5 hours. He's in the hospital. He's doing okay, but might end up needing surgery. Crews still don't know what caused that trench to collapse.
You could just smell the paper burning. There's the smell of paper burning. But all the firefighters were just surrounding the building. They couldn't go inside.
Trash cans, they were full of documents being burned in the courtyard of the Chinese consulate in Houston yesterday. The U.S. has ordered China to close its consulate in Houston to protect American intellectual property after a fire broke out at the building last night. A Chinese official called the decision to shut down the consulate an outrageous and unjustified move that will sabotage relations between the two countries. While on an official visit to Copenhagen today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the Trump administration is taking action to halt long-running intellectual property theft.
We are setting out clear expectations for how the Chinese Communist Party is going to behave. And when they don't, we're going to take actions that protect the American people, protect our security, our national security, and also protect our economy and jobs. That's the actions that you're seeing taken by President Trump. We'll continue to engage in those.
A Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson says China was informed of that decision yesterday. He warned of firm countermeasures if the U.S. does not reverse itself. Tensions escalated overnight in Portland, Oregon as hundreds of demonstrators clashed with federal agents. Now President Trump is doubling down on his plan to send federal officers into some of America's biggest cities, dealing with the spike in violent crime right now, despite leaders in those cities saying the troops are not welcome and could actually escalate problems. Jay Gray is in Washington with the latest.
Hey there, Tatum. Look, there's no question that violent crime has exploded in many cities across the country this summer. The question now is how to deal with it. And according to President Trump, the answer is federal officers and force. Federal agents in camouflage engaging and arresting protesters in Portland, with President Trump promising to move more troops into cities dealing with a spike in violent crime. The latest attack, an overnight drive-by shooting in Chicago that left 15 injured.
We're not going to let New York and Chicago and Philadelphia and Detroit and Baltimore and all of these, Oakland is a mess. We're not going to let this happen in our country.
Leaders in all of those cities, Democrats, say they haven't asked for and don't want the squads patrolling their streets.
This is a democracy, not a dictatorship. We cannot have secret police abducting people and putting them in unmarked vehicles.
Democrats on Capitol Hill are working to block the deployments, questioning the president's motives and accusing him of using the officers as his own private militia.
He's trying to make America afraid. He's trying to make America afraid of cities by continually attacking them.
In a series of tweets, Senator Lindsey Graham shared his support for what's being called Operation Legend, while the acting director of Homeland Security makes it clear he's not waiting for local officials to welcome his officers in.
Regarding whether it was the mayor or the Portland, the governor not wanting us there, okay, I appreciate that. We still have a job to do. We will continue to take the appropriate action, protect our facilities and our law enforcement officers.
Which means the fighting in Congress, courtrooms, and the streets will likely continue. There are indications that a team of close to 200 federal officers could be on the ground in Chicago by this weekend. In Washington, Jay Gray, News West 9. Tatum, back to you now.
Jay, thank you. We're going to take a quick break.
Welcome back, and here's a last look at the radar picture. Midland and Odessa, all the activity has pushed off to our west. I know a lot of us didn't get any. I know some people on the north side of Midland were able to pick up a little thunderstorm there for about 10 or 15 minutes, but everything moving off to the west, areas like Crane, Rankin, Monahans, Kermit could pick up a few of those showers and storms over the next hour or 2 hours there. So make sure just be careful if those storms do roll through your area. If nothing else, at least temperatures were able to fall a little bit in Midland and Odessa as those storms kind of rolled through. Right now, current temperatures only in the 80s while it's 100 degrees there in Pecos. So enjoy the cooler weather that we have in the Permian Basin right now. Should be a good evening.
You know, I think we're feeling to start left out. Everybody else is getting the rain,
I know,
but not Midland and Odessa.
At least it's cooler. We got something going for us.
We can take that if nothing else.
Right.
Well, that's all the time that we have here at 6. We'll see you at 10.
See you then.